C is a low-level programming language, and so it's not very user-friendly. You know, you have to do a lot of things to make things user-friendly, including error checking. So if a user doesn't input something right, you need to check and make sure if they entered it right or not, that kind of thing. So that's what this video is about. This video is about error checking. But more importantly, we're learning about a new control structure, the if and else statements. So that's really what this video is all about. We're going to start with, instead of starting from scratch, we're going to start with the average_argv program. So you go into File Manager and double click on average_argv, Control-C, Control-V, make a copy, rename that copy average_err for error. Go in there, erase the executable, and change the C program name to average_err.c. And then double click on it and it'll come up in Notepad++. That's the starting point. We're not going to add a lot of lines to this code. Right below the fopen statement, we're going to check and make sure if that file is there. Right? And so normally if you run the code and you say average_argv, if you go to argv and say average_argv space o20.txt, it'll just freak out on you. It'll give weird answers and stuff like that because there is no o20. There's only o10, 100, and 1000. So we want to interact with the user, tell the user, hey, there's not a file there. You got to find a file. You got to put the right file there. So that's the if statement. The conditionals after the if. So it's if, open parentheses, and then some relational conditional statement, just like in while, just like the while loop, often cases. And you can have a range of relational operators. So look at my video on relational and mathematical operators to understand more about what are the possibilities there. The conditional statement here is if fp =, all caps, null. If there's no file, fp comes back, and with the variable that we just learned, just like EOF, remember that variable? It's similar, it's predefined, and it means no file is there. If fp comes back equal to null, that means that there isn't a file there. So that's what we're checking for. If that's the case, tell the user, close up the file, and then stop the program altogether. That's why we need an else statement. So if fp is not equal to null, then do everything else that you normally would have done. So you can see that if, relational operator in parentheses, then curly braces, do the error checking part, then else, then other curly braces, enclosing the rest of the program. The other thing to note here is indentation. I haven't talked about indenting yet. But whenever there's a control structure, a while loop, a for loop, anything like that, I always indent. In main, I always indent for main too. That last curly braces for the main program is usually at the far left of the file. So I always indent. C doesn't recognize indenting. There's no rules on it or anything like that. You could make a C program all one line, and for people who try to write obfuscatory code, then that's what they do. They make it all crazy looking, and so you can't understand it. This is not the normal strategy for a person trying to write code. You want to make it clear so humans know what you're doing. The other thing is, a lot of times people forget close curly braces and stuff. They don't match them. You have to, for every one you open, you have to close. And so how to match them. Indenting really helps you see that error, see if that error is there or not. And all sorts of editors have little helpful visuals to help you look for those types of errors. So I always indent. So everything after the if statement is indented a little more. Everything after the else statement is indented a little more. So I use indentation to make clear what's going on. That's all there is to this new program. I save it. I go into command prompt. I search for CMD. I get the command prompt. I CD into OneDrive. Then I CD into the desktop. And I CD into C code. And then CD into average_err. I compile the code, and then I run it. I'm going to run it with O20, and it says, oh, wait a minute, no file here, and I'm going to run it with O10 and it works. So the error checking there works no problem. That's it. What did we learn? We learned about indentation, and we learned about the if-else structure. There's if. You can do if alone and no else's. There's if and else if and else if. You can have a lot of else ifs in series. There's all sorts of ways that you can do if else. This is the simplest case where you have an if and an else. That's it.